Welcome to the Online Success Journey Podcast, your opportunity to discover and learn from entrepreneurs like yourself. This is not your typical podcast, but a place where you can get the real story and find out how real people encounter speed bumps and detours, but journey through to find success. Now here's your host for the Online Success Journey Podcast, Patience.
Hello everyone and welcome to Online Success Journey. This is episode 149. Are you ready to join the clan? Today we have Kirk Du Plessis, the founder of OptionAlpha.com, helping investors just like you constantly make smarter and more profitable trades. Hello, Kirk.
Hey, how are you doing? Good morning.
Good morning. I know the clan here is anxious to hear your story, so let's get started with the basics. Can you tell my clan a little bit about your background, about what you did before you started your own online business?
Yeah. It's I think I took a very typical process and journey, I guess. I started in finance in school. I thought that I wanted to work on Wall Street, and I ended up working on Wall Street for a little bit of time. So when I was in school, I had a degree in finance, and everyone around me, went to Wall Street. I mean, that's literally what you did from the school that I graduated from. And so I had no idea what I wanted to do. I assumed I wanted to do that as well. So I took a job for Deutsche Bank, which is a German bank, but in New York, and worked on Wall Street for a little bit in mergers and acquisitions. Found out that lifestyle is absolutely terrible and you don't see the light of day and you're stuck in an office for 12 hours a day. And it's just it's not what I wanted out of life, or nor did I really expect that. So I made a transition. I moved to Washington D.C. in the States and worked for a small regional bank doing capital markets and covering REITs. So I was a REIT analyst covering real estate investment trusts, so publicly traded REITs in the lodging and hotel and specialty and commercial space. So that was good. I got to see a different side of the financial markets, the business that way. And then after that, I also realized that job had its drawbacks, and that was mainly that I was in a job and I did not ever want to be in a job. So I realized very quickly after school, after a couple of years, that I had enough experience, I thought, to maybe go out on my own and do something a little bit different. And when I was in New York, I had an opportunity to do a rotation on a trading desk. So where I got introduced to options trading and derivatives trading was actually in New York working for a bank. And I got to see how a bank would trade, how, their thought process, how they look at the markets and allocating capital. And so then I just started to apply a little bit that type of methodology to my own trading. And so after I left the regional bank in DC, I decided to start trading at home by myself. And so I've been doing that now for 10 plus years.
Wow, what a journey.
No doubt.
Very interesting. Okay. What is the most dangerous belief an online entrepreneur or an investor can have?
I think so. I started Option Alpha when I started trading at home, and it was originally just a very simple personal blog. And I started blogging about literally what I was doing, and it was a way for me to feel like I was connected to anybody, even though maybe I had 2 readers at the time. I mean, I think when I got like 5 readers, I was so excited that, I could see the RSS feeds, and I had 5 people who would read it daily. And so for me, it was just a way to, share my thoughts and my opinions. And over time, it's obviously morphed into, something totally different now, than I've ever expected. But I think that when people start in the online space, I think people wrongly assume that everything's really, really easy to do, right? And if it was super easy to do, everyone would do it, right? If making money online and starting an online business or having a web presence was as easy as brushing your teeth, everyone would do it. But it's really not. And it's, I consider ourselves to be 10-year overnight success stories, right? And that's really hard to stick with something for 10 years and see it through to fruition. And, we've got lots and lots of runway still ahead of us. But it took some time. And I think people underestimate the time that's required to build a community and to, find your voice or find your niche. Figure out what you really want to do.
How long did it take you from these 5 people to really trying to see success?
For the first couple of years, I really wasn't doing anything else besides blogging. And it really was just a very organic way of answering questions that people had. So I would share my story about the trades that I was making. And, if I was losing money or making money, I was, always been transparent about that. And to this day, I think it's one of the differentiators that we still have is that every single night, no matter what happens in the day, I'll record a video and share, what I did that day, like what trades I made and if I made money or lost money. And so we've got thousands and thousands of videos that are publicly available. And I think I'm the only options trader in the entire world that does this every single day. And so, it started off just like that, just sharing my story and answering questions. And I think the turn for us really started, I don't know, maybe let's say 4 or 5 years ago, where we started to actually put together content in a more cohesive manner. So we were starting to build courses for people. We were starting to put together guides and PDFs. I honestly got sick of replying to the same emails with a bunch of descriptions that I had already written to 10 other people, right? And so I said, this is totally ridiculous. I can help out a lot of people by just recording a video or putting together a course or writing a PDF guide or writing a book. And so that's what we started doing. So it was a very organic process. And I think for us, what really has always led to, a lot of growth in our space is that we give a lot of information away for free. So like, I'm not one of those people who covets information. So if we learn something new, we'll, do a new course on it or update a case study on it and just give it away for free. A lot of people in this space charge for everything. I mean, it seems like they charge for just accessing the website. And we have always ran a very, very open freemium type model, which I think has been good.
Okay. I know yes, you wanted to work on the Wall Street, you worked on the banks, but Kirk, why do you do what you do?
Why do I do what I do now? Yeah, I think what I do now is it's a blend of lifestyle and my interests. So I've always had an interest in finance and just numbers. I've always been good at numbers. I'm terrible at English. That's good for me because my wife is an English, has a master's degree in English and linguistics. So she kind of covers that spectrum for our family. But I've always had an interest in finance and numbers and, investing on some degree and, at some level, but I've never had an interest in really working for anybody else. Right. So I really learned quickly that although that's fine and you can get some good experience from that, it just really wasn't something that ever suited me. So, for me, options trading is still, the main source of income for our family. That's still what we live off of. And then the online space is just a way for me to stay engaged in what I already do, leverage the skills that I already have. And then the community that we built at Option Alpha helps us crowdsource new data and technology and hopefully new strategies that are out there by bringing together lots and lots of people and using the revenue that we do generate in the right direction. So putting it back into basically buying data, running back tests, building out software, which everybody can then, use and leverage. So
let's put man aside because you've been in business for a long time. How do you know you are successful?
I don't think I am yet. So you would ask my wife, actually. Yeah, I'm definitely one of those people that, we've reached a certain level of success, but for me, and this is just my mentality, but every time that we hit a different milestone, and this, could be family and spiritual, personal, business, whatever the metric is, like I move the milestone. And so that's just how I am. And I think it just keeps me going. Like I don't ever feel like I've reached any certain level. But if I reach a level of quote unquote success, then I determine that the next goalpost should be, X amount even further. So I think that's good. I think it's a good, healthy mentality to be in. I don't overstep my bounds, right? I know when to, take a step back and reflect and enjoy and, celebrate the wins. But at the same time, I feel like we should constantly be moving forward, pushing the boundaries. That's something that we did this year, or let's say 2 years ago. We started the process and we'll be rolling it out this year as we, started a process of developing software, which literally nobody has in the entire industry. And I think it's going to be revolutionary, software. We're already teaming up with brokers and very big, investment houses, to facilitate this software. And that was a big process. And it was something I didn't need to do, but felt like it was a challenge that could, take us to the next level, take the industry to the next level, and help out a lot of people. So, yeah, I don't think that we're successful just yet, or at least there's another boundary for us to cross.
Can anyone be an entrepreneur or can anyone be an investor, or are some people more cut out for it than others like you?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think the answer is that some people just don't have what it takes, right? I think some people want it. But the reality is that it does take a certain type of personality. Like I just could never work for somebody, long term. And I realized that very early on. And I think some people are okay with that. Like there's people who, don't want to make decisions being a business owner or an entrepreneur. And that's totally fine. And that doesn't mean that they can't be successful. It doesn't mean that they can't grow and learn and, have great families and great lives. It just means that they just don't want to run the ship or make a lot of decisions. So I don't think everyone is meant to be an entrepreneur. That's okay. I think it takes a lot of persistence and hard work to, really stick it out, and to be successful doing it. And some people, either don't have the capacity to do it or really don't have the will to do it.
What have you learned from business as a whole?
That's a pretty open-ended question for that. There's a lot, right? I think, honesty, trust goes a really long way. It takes a long time to build. I realize that. I pay attention to that all the time. Like, I'm always focused on what we're doing as a company, as a brand, what I'm doing, kind of leading the ship and steering us in the right direction. I think that can be overshadowed. Too many people try to go for the quick buck, and it ends up backfiring in their face. So like I said, we've been a 10-year overnight success because we've basically given away everything for free, and this entire industry really hates us for that. And I'm okay with that. So most, I get emails, a couple times a year from our competitors basically asking us to take down our free content because they are charging $5,000 for something that's, subpar. So I think in this business, really figuring out who you're going after, like who's your client, who are you partnering up with, who do you want to help, and then trying to figure out the best way to help them, and provide value.
What is the one thing that has contributed to your success?
Just one.
A few.
I think being able to be a little bit flexible, I think helps, right? I think people are too stiff most of the time. I'm definitely one that has learned the flexibility of offloading tasks to other people and other team members. That's, I think, a hard thing for an entrepreneur. As an entrepreneur, many of us get into this because we think we can do it better by ourselves. And in many cases we can, but it's not the most efficient use of our time. And it's not the most efficient way to go about building a business because you become the bottleneck, right? So when I started, I was doing everything. I was doing email support. I was doing the development and coding, which I was terrible at. So I'm so glad I offloaded that. I was doing design work and copywriting and sharing on social media. And I was managing the books. I was doing everything. I wore every single hat. And I've learned over time that just because I think I can do something better doesn't mean that it's the most efficient, use of my time, and it's not going to leverage our team's time best. So I've learned how to build a team around me of contractors and employees that can help out. And ultimately, there are people out there who can do things better than you think. Like I've got a graphic designer and a developer on our team right now that are way better than anything I could have ever done, right? So I think getting beyond yourself and learning that you don't need to do everything and other people can help out, and that's okay.
Do you have a mentor or a coach yourself?
I consider that I have a lot of mentors because I listen to a lot of people. So even though I'm doing this podcast now and kind of, sharing my story, which I think always helps out because I love to hear other people's stories out there too. I listen to a lot of people. So I listen to a lot of different podcasts. I read a lot. I watch a lot of interviews, a lot of TED Talks. I really consider a lot of people to be mentors. I don't have one particular mentor, one business coach. I don't follow that philosophy. I think you can, get a lot of ideas from different people at different stages in life. So yeah, I consider myself to be kind of like a floating student, if you will.
What is one thing no one knows about you?
One thing that nobody knows about me? Well, I'm blind in my left eye, which is kind of weird because if you ever met me, you would never think that I'm blind in my left eye. And but I've always been blind in my left eye. Well, that's another thing, is when I get up in the morning, I need to have 6 cups of coffee before I can speak clearly, I guess. But no, I'm blind in my left eye. I think my wife would say that I'm extremely persistent and that I will literally never give up. I think that's one of the reasons why I got her to marry me, because I just kept asking and asking and asking until she finally said yes. So yeah, I don't know. There's probably things that, I don't know and recognize, but I think I probably live too simple and too normal of a life that people would never notice.
What grounds you?
My kids. So I have 3 beautiful kids. I've got 2 girls and a new baby boy, which at the time that we're recording this, he's 2 weeks old. So since I work at home and since I obviously am here with them literally every single day, and my office is in their playroom. So that's how we set it up, is that I have a very small corner that is nice and clean and is my desk and office. And then everything else is just toys and disaster and chaos. But I really wouldn't have it any other way, because that's why I do this. I do this so that I can spend time with them, so that we can go to the gym and the library and the pool together and, play outside during the day. So Yeah, they totally are what ground me.
Tell us more about your Option Alpha website and how to do trading smarter.
Yeah. So, Option Alpha has been, definitely a passion of mine and continues to be, and I imagine will be for the next 20 years. Option Alpha is my way of pulling back the veil on everybody. I think everyone has preconceived notions of what trading is and, options trading or day trading. They hear these, concepts and topics thrown all about. And so I try to pull back the veil. Again, we do it in a very unobstructive, unpushy manner because everything's free. There's no catches. There's no gimmicks. Like you can go in and train and learn and watch and, take your time for as long as you want. And the idea is that, there is a system and a methodology to the options market. It's basically just a big game of numbers. And so once you understand the mechanics of how the numbers work, very much like how an insurance business or a casino is run, then you understand how to beat the system, right? And so I try to teach people how that works. I try to show them examples. We lead by example by showing our trades and what we do. Again, when we're successful, when we're not. We show a lot of research. We provide a lot of tools. And then what we're going to be rolling out here in literally about the next 2 weeks from the time that we're recording this, me and you, is we're rolling out a completely automated trading system. So what many people don't know is that, over 90% of the trades and transactions that happen globally in the options and the derivatives market and even in the equity markets are done by computers and by robots. So very large institutions, hedge funds, financial firms, endowment funds, they all have their own bots and robots and algorithms that make trades for them. That's literally 90+% of the market. So the leftover 10% is the little guy. So people like me and you who are left to stuck with making our own decisions and not using all the information to make a decision and manually clicking and entering, trades. So it's very similar to everyone else is using a bulldozer and, construction equipment to dig a hole. And then all the little guys are using shovels. I mean, like that's the type of, setup that we have right now. And so our goal has been to dramatically level the playing field by providing the same level technology. In fact, it's probably better level technology for retail private traders to be able to use algorithms and robots and technology to make better decisions. So a computer, we all know, can make an infinitely better decision based on all the information much quicker than we could ever do, right? And so that's what we're trying to do. So we're trying to level the playing field so that everyone has a chance.
And who is this for? Can a beginner do this? Is it only for type of geek people like you who went to the finance school? Who can do this?
Yeah, so on our community right now, we've got over 100,000 members. We are on every continent. And so we actually had our first person from Antarctica sign up a couple months ago. He was stationed there for military and he's trading from Antarctica. Okay, so we're on every continent and 56 or so countries around the world. We have men, we have women, we have people who are young, we have people who are old. I think our oldest member is 92. So we've got literally the entire gamut. So the reality is of course, anyone could do it. The question is always, can you or do you have the persistence to learn the mechanics, learn the numbers, and then start applying it, right? So in every business, every walk of life, everything is insanely easy on the outside. It's just actually doing it that becomes hard. So the analogy that I use a lot with coaching and with other clients is, everyone knows what to do to be healthy and physically fit. There's no secret out there, right? So the basic premise of being healthy and physically fit are you eat right and you generally work out or have some sort of activity, right? So we all know that. So how you go about that differs. You could, run versus cycle. You could swim versus walk, whatever, right? But you have to have those two components. And the same thing is true in options trading. So there's like a couple main components that you have to have. And once everyone understands them, then the hardest part is going to the gym, right? So like the hardest part of being healthy and physically fit is not that you don't know what to do. You do. It's just actually going to the gym or the fitness center. It's actually eating healthy, right, on a consistent basis. It's the same methodology that's applied to the options trading space, to the investing market. it's easy to understand what to do. The hard part is when it's time to actually implement it and do it on a daily basis.
Okay, just give us some little push-ups, little goals. Like, when you are really on your last and you're like, I can't do anymore. I liked that analogy when you said your trainer pushed you to do 2 more and you're like, no, I can't do more. So give us 3 tips what we can do that little bit to push us to start.
So are we talking about investing or are we talking about online trading? Yeah. So here's the one thing, right? So here's a couple of them. The first is that investing does not have to be one directional. So the vast majority of the entire global market only assumes that you can buy things at low prices and hope that they go up, and that's how you make money, right? So you buy a stock at $10. You hope that the stock goes up to $20 and then you make money. Well, that's not the reality. That's just one direction that you can generate money from. You can actually generate money from the stock going the opposite direction. So you can generate money when the stock goes down, which is, again, like something that people don't understand initially, but it's very easy to understand once you learn the mechanics. And then you can also generate money when a stock just trades sideways. And so the question becomes, well, how in the world do you generate money when something stays at $10 for the entire month, right? And that's where options trading comes into place. So that's one, it's just like kind of getting over that hurdle of just understanding there's many more ways than just a one directional approach to trading in the markets. The second thing you have to understand is that the entire market is based on edge. So there is a defined edge in the market, and the edge is to those who are option sellers. This is true not only in our research, but if you look, and so some people don't do this, but if you go back and read the 10Ks and 10Qs of Warren Buffett's portfolio, you guys would see that Warren Buffett is the single largest options trader in the entire world. Now, nobody ever talks about that with Warren Buffett because everyone's too concerned with his stock trading activities and what he's doing as a buy and hold investor. But last year, Warren Buffett sold $5 billion worth of option contracts. And he lays out all the specifics of everything he does in his quarterly reports because he has to by law, right? So when people always say, well, options trading isn't for the little guy, or options trading doesn't work, I always point, I say, look, Warren Buffett sold $5 billion worth of options contracts. If he's conceivably the smartest investor in the world, why isn't everybody else doing it, right? So those are my 2 pushes. Just try to explore those 2 topics a little bit more, right? Everyone wants to be like Warren Buffett. And if you do, that means you should be a really big options trader.
Yeah, because in one of your core beliefs, you said it's only you only need minimal commitment. And I'm like, okay, if we need minimal commitment, then everyone can do it.
You could. Yeah, I mean, one option contract spread takes as little as $65. Now, look, you're not going to quit your job on $65, right? That's what I tell people. It's like, don't wrongly assume you're going to, make 40, 50% a year doing this. That's totally outside of the realm of possibility. But you don't need a lot of money to get started. And so if you have $65 can do one contract, and that can get the ball rolling.
That client of yours, 92, that means maybe it's never too late. Because I was thinking maybe it's too late. Everything's taken.
No, look, is it ever too late I tell people this all the time. Is it ever too late to get healthy? Is it ever too late to, be physically fit and active, right? It's never too late to start doing the right thing.
Okay. Where can we find this in the program of yours, the option program?
Yeah, you can just go to optionalpha.com. And like I said, you can sign up for a free membership. You can have a free membership forever. There's no expiration time. There's no catches. You don't have to pay anything. It is totally free and open forever.
And if we want to get in contact with you?
Yep, you can just do it right through Option Alpha. There's a contact page and inside the platform when you log in.
Okay, thank you. So, Clan, there will be more from Kirk in a moment. If you are listening on one of the many podcast platforms rather than my website and you are encouraged by Kirk's journey, go to onlinesuccessjourney.com for a bonus portion of the interview. The Online Success Journey is a wonderful membership community built for people searching for the path to success. We are one big clan and you can be part of this community for free. Once you have joined the clan, click on part of Kirk's journey or over 100 other journeys that are available and learn how you can find the right path for your own online success journey. That's a wrap, clan. Remember, success is a journey. Patience and Kirk.
This is not the end of the journey. We hope you've enjoyed listening to part 1 and want to be sure you know there is a second part to this and Every Journey podcast at onlinesuccessjourney.com, filled with even more success tips, uplifting stories, and even a bit of fun. There are dozens of episodes only available to the members of the Online Success Journey clan. Check out the website and click on Join the Clan for more information. Patience would like to thank you for listening to this podcast, and she has a free audio gift for you at her website. Go to onlinesuccessjourney.com for instant access to this gift. Of course, you know that listening to the journeys of others helps each of us chart our own path. So make sure you're subscribed to be notified as each new interview is posted. There are so many ways to stay connected to the Online Success Journey and to listen in. And if you're enjoying the podcast, we appreciate your help in telling others. One of the best ways to share the benefit you get is to rate and review it at Stitcher and other sites by clicking the stars or completing the ratings form, by clicking thumbs up and leaving a comment on YouTube, or liking and sharing the podcast on social media. To review the podcast within iTunes, simply open iTunes to the podcast, click on Ratings and Reviews, then write a review. On behalf of Patience, and until next time, thanks once more for listening. It is our hope that this podcast will guide you on your own online success journey.